Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And we are asking once again, is this paradise? Or is this stranger of paradise? And today we are going to find out the answer to that very question. We are going to complete our discussion of Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. And joining me, as always, to discuss and rank Final Fantasy games, I'm joined by Chris ZombiePie Redacted. Hello.
So today I woke up with scratches all over my waist and my legs, and at first I thought it was a rash and I would need to see a doctor instead of going to work. And then I realized that they were actually scratches, and they got there because I slept with 2 coat hangers in my bed.
I'm not going to examine that any further. The other person who is on this call helping us rank FF games is one Jeff Rude. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, I'm heading up to Nanaimo next week. You guys want anything?
No. Apparently, ZP needs some sort of sleeping suit so that he isn't stabbed by the coat hangers in his bed, but can you get that up there?
What kind of local dishes or food and drink beverages that can you get me that I can review on this podcast?
Well, ZP, I'm glad you asked because Nanaimo is actually famous for something called a Nanaimo bar.
Which has?
It is a kind of a custardy cream filling on a so it's like a 3-layer bar. The bottom layer is kind of a coconut chocolatey oaty cookie, for lack of a better word. Then you have this custard cream and then like a hard chocolate on top.
Oh yeah, the hardest of hard chocolates.
Yeah, Nanaimo bars are good.
Have you ever bonked yourself on the head with this hard chocolate to find out how good it is?
I have not bonked myself with a Nanaimo bar.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll never know.
I'm gonna now.
Excellent. Good.
This is a charming American thing I do.
I'm just gonna say, if it's got a creamy center full of custard, like all of us on this podcast, then I'm gonna guess it's gonna be a soft bonk.
Disgusting. All right, so ZP, I've been told you've brought a thing.
Yeah, I did. I'm going to be quick about this because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like this. So this came from my brother, although legally my stepbrother, but I consider him my brother. I've known him my entire life.
I wasn't going to ask, but okay.
And this is from the company known as United Sodas of America. And their whole deal is that they make super simple, kind of like raw bars, simple ingredients for sodas. So I got the 2 flavors that I thought would be the worst, because most of the times it's like blueberry and it's like carbonated water with blueberry flavoring. So I got one of these called Blackberry Jam. Now that doesn't sound so bad. Then I got the other one that I noticed that he had a lot of, meaning that I'm pretty sure he didn't like it, called Toasted Coconut. Okay, I'm going to read the ingredients for this Blackberry Jam. This is the one that I dropped prior to the podcast, so this might explode in my face. Carbonated water, organic cane sugar, organic erythritol, organic stevia, citric acid, natural flavors, and purple color.
So some kind of
I'm going to do the
alcohol.
tap the top. I'm going to do the tap the top to not make it explode.
Is that a thing?
Okay.
Doesn't sound like it exploded.
Don't pick on him for his folk beliefs.
Okay, so it smells good. It smells very perfumey, but it smells like a good... Yeah, it smells like a mixed berry soda.
Jeff, if we don't make fun of him for his folk beliefs, what is his role on the show?
So, just looking at it, it doesn't look like this has a lot of carbonation in it. I think this is kind of like one of those soda stream things where the low carbonation is like the health thing. All right, I'm going to give this a try. This is Blackberry Jam Soda.
I don't think that the carbon dioxide dissolved into the fluid is the healthy part or the unhealthy part.
Okay.
How's your dude? Have you had the jam that this is trying to emulate?
Yeah, I've had jam. I don't actually like jam all that much. Yeah, you can kind of tell this is a health food because it doesn't have a lot of sugar. So one can is just 12% of your sugar intake. So this is more like a foo-foo, perfumey, more flavorful mineral water. So take like LaCroix and make it a little bit more flavorsome. And I think you kind of get that.
Have either of you ever had Have you ever had an Olipop soda, CP?
An Otter Pop?
Olipop.
Of course I've had an
Olipop. It's a health food conscious soda.
Those are okay.
I've not had an Olipop.
They're okay. They've got a lot of what you're describing.
This is completely average. As long as you go into this thinking, I'm getting a slightly more flavorsome mineral water. I think this raspberry jam or berry jam, blackberry jam, is okay. I'm going to give that a 3.5. Now comes the worst one: toasted coconut. I don't hate coconut, but artificial coconut is kind of one of the worst things ever.
Huh. I just learned that flavorsome is in fact a word. Awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely got that artificial coconut smell that when you get like pina colada flavored drinks. Yep, smells like sunscreen.
Sick.
I'm not looking forward to this. All right, here we go.
Drink your sunscreen, son. It'll protect you.
Oh. That's not...
Yes?
That's not terrible. That's not... I think I actually like that one more than the blackberry jam, just because the bar was so low. I'm genuinely surprised that it doesn't taste like garbage. Imagine you're drinking a liquefied macaron, but much more water. A lot of water. That coconut flavor, I mean, you have to like coconut. It goes without saying. Some people don't like coconut, and I'm not here to argue. It's like when people say, oh, could I get that salad but without goat cheese? And it's like, it's a goat cheese salad. What are you doing? Just get a fucking Caesar salad dressing thing.
I mean, some people want arugula.
Some people, if you're going to add, like, I like wedge salads. I don't like blue cheese, but a wedge salad has blue cheese, so I never order it. So just get over yourself. Stop being a Karen.
I don't think that not having goat cheese on a salad makes you Karen, but teach their own. What is the star rating on
So I'm
this?
going to give this one a 3.5 just because, I'm not a huge artificial coconut, but this is still pretty good. Overall, I say that you're going to have to go with tempered, realistic expectations when you buy things by the United Sodas of America company. As long as you kind of recognize that despite their kind of viral marketing saying that this is healthy soda, it's mineral water. It really is just one step above mineral water.
All right. Well, thank you for another exciting food review. If you want more content like this, reminder, you can get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and Deep Listens Podcast at gmail.com. And you can support the show on Patreon.
I will warn you, it is bubbly. I might burp during this podcast. I'll try to keep it in my...
God damn it.
At patreon.com/deeplistens. That's the Patreon. And you can also support the National Network of Abortion Funds, which is something we've been trying to raise money for the last few months. It's still not great in the U.S. for folks seeking reproductive health care. So if you're in a position to do so, please donate. Oh, sorry, ZP, what were you saying about you fucking burping on the show? I was about to...
That wasn't a burp.
No, I wasn't listening for a second. I was just so focused on, doing the read about the donations and the charity. What was that? I couldn't hear. You got the burpees?
It's a very carbonated water.
Oh,
drink.
okay. Okay. Got it. Good. Thank you. Thank goodness you warned me of that before I finished the read. It's fine. It's fine. This is the Final Fantasy show. This is a good time. We're gonna have a good time here.
We're normally friends, people.
I'm joking. I'm making
nominally friends.
Nominal.
We're not friends, but we play them on TV.
Yeah. All right. So, Stranger Paradise. When last we left it, we had just killed 3 of the 4 fiends. We were up to the last one, who is Kraken. It has to be Kraken last. things seem to be afoot in the last bit, but stuff was mostly foreshadowing. What did we think of taking down Kraken? Because I think the Kraken level is the FF7 level. It's probably the biggest level or second biggest level in the game.
It's the biggest level. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. While I think that the story kicks in once you deal with or interact with the Kraken, all of the levels leading up to the Kraken boss battle kind of highlight what I think is the biggest problem with this game, which is the interstitial stuff, the in-between stuff, especially the side questy, glorified grind sessions that the game kind of forces you into so as that you can actually complete the game regardless of which difficulty you're playing it on, is the absolute weakest part of this game. Especially those side quests, they might as well not exist, and you just, have the main quest keep me on par to where I am, because they're just a complete nothing burger. I mean, they have a couple of quips with the characters that kind of keep you on board and interested, but like those side quests might as well just not exist. They are boring reverse routes of the same levels you've already seen before, with now a different assortment of trinkets and randomized locations or different locations from before. And I think that the only heinous part that I really want to say about that is the fact that you kind of need to do those if you want to get those audio logs that have the actual story that clue you into what the hell is going on in the story.
Well, and there's gameplay reasons. Those extra side quests also tend to give you additional jobs that your characters can equip. So if you want your characters to have access,
if you want them to have the more advanced classes like Sage or Samurai, or like all of those cool classes that you enjoy just by playing the game,
it's side quests.
Yeah, it's not good. It's actually one of the worst parts of this game for me.
I'm kind of aligned there. Like I think the thing that really makes them rough, this doesn't happen every single time, but more often than not, you'll finish a main plot level, and then you get several little rewards for that. But one of your rewards is like, cool, now do it in reverse. Like immediately go back through the same level you just finished, and like you can, player choice your way out of that by just not doing those immediately, and that alleviates it. But in fact, I think it's damn near necessary. I think they solve that problem by like mixing them up, and it gets rid of this like weird gripe I have. But yeah, the level itself is a replica of the, I guess, first 10 minutes of Final Fantasy VII, kind of, which I guess kind of makes this a weird version of like the Final Fantasy VII remake version of this intro of Final Fantasy VII, just with more gangways and corridors and crap to get
I'm going to
through.
hazard and guess that this is an asset swap. They use the assets from 7 Remake, or
They may have
something that
mailed
they
them.
have built
Yeah.
for 7 Remake Part 2.
They sent them a
Rebirth.
flash drive in the mail. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does mean that it's one of the better looking at levels.
The sense of scale is actually pretty cool. Like you're at, you can appreciate, because like that main spot where you fight the Kraken is kind of visible pretty early on down at the bottom of like a very large structure, basically. So you spend most of this level kind of navigating your way down towards where you're going. It gives it a sense of place that some of the other levels in this game, which are just kind of corridor walker things, do not have. So in that sense, yeah, it's probably one of the better levels in the game. Still suffers from some of the same issues that we've already groused about in the last episode that don't need to repeat. And then the fight, look, like, shame on me for playing this on easy, but the boss fights kind of went, I think each one of these boss fights for me was like, I think the longest one went maybe 2 minutes, and it was just pretty much the same version you guys got, just thoughtless, I suppose, or a little less thoughtful. Like, I feel like there were a couple that was like, they get basically their 2 phases, right? And that second phase seemed like it would last like seconds before I could trigger the like break move and like end the thing.
Yeah, that's significantly easier than what I had. Kraken for me was pretty tough.
yeah. I kind of it's the only time I think I regretted not playing it on like a higher difficulty, and I guess I could have just toggled it up, but
Yeah, you can. You can.
yeah.
I think
So
you can't toggle it up to hard, but you can toggle it up to normal, I think.
yeah. So shame on me, but I don't have a great I don't have a great frame of reference for how those boss fights went. I guess so. Because like they do things. They have like techniques and damage affinities that kind of matter. And the easy mode of that game just kind of goes like, nah, just hit it. So with that in mind, what did the Kraken do that made you have to fight it for a while?
So he's weak to electricity. That's his kind of weakness. You can hit him with some of the other special effects, etc. But what made him tough was he is faster than most of the other bosses and much more dedicated to actually targeting you. Like Merilith, it's a bigger arena where you fight Merilith than where you fight the Kraken. And Kraken hits harder than any of the other fiends by a lot. So I found that in my playthrough, Kraken hitting me 2 or 3 times killed me. So it just meant I had to parry him or just avoid his hits. Even my kind of cheese tactics that I did with some of the other characters, some of the other bosses, like going assassin, stacking up hits on him, activating blood weapon, then triggering the assassinate move that hits a bunch of times and heals you a bunch and all that fun stuff. That's how I ultimately beat him. But with most of the other bosses, if I just busted out that combo, I won on the spot. With Kraken, it took me multiple attempts, even with my most busted combo. And I also was trying to like use other jobs around this time. So I used the Breaker, I used the Tyrant at this point, which is kind of the Mystic Knight equivalent. Like you can enchant your fists or your blade with spells, and then you do elemental damage. So I tried doing that with Thunder because he's weak to electricity. I didn't find... Look, stacking up those assassinates and then triggering them just hits harder for me than trying to actually do it legit.
I'm reasonably sure I had Ninja unlocked at this point.
Ninja's so good.
Ninja's awesome. Yeah. The throwing star ability stuff that you start feeling like as soon as you get that like double stack of tools ability that's down the ninja tree, the game, I feel like regardless of the difficulty you're on, kind of changes fundamentally. Yeah, I was at a certain point I just went Ninja Sage and then I never touched the jobs again. Because I liked that combo quite a bit. Ninja was fast. Ninja had some range. Sage had the popping Ultima off, which playing on easy wasn't super useful, but was cool. Like using Ultima was actually, I think, like the most mechanically interesting thing I wound up doing playing on easy because it actually involved some setup.
Did you use? So you probably didn't even use the ninja tool that makes you dodge 3 hits.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
and
sick.
I felt like a Jesus when I was doing it. Yeah, it feels great. Yeah. But yeah, the to grok Ultima on Sage, you need to hit with 3, like white mage abilities, and then swap over to the opposite mage, whichever one you did not use, and then get 3 dark mage spells off or whatever, like 3 from each of them. And then it becomes available in the black mage spell pool to cast Ultima one time. So you have to sort of like think a little bit. And every time you go to, I think, cubes, right? Cubes. That meter sort of resets. So you need to like sort of mentally math that out if you really need it. It was cool.
It hits really hard. It does a lot of stagger. Like you said, it's this setup-y sort of job that you have to keep track of. Like you have to cast buffs or heals just to trigger the white magic part. Same thing with the black magic part.
And so I'm like a buff guy. Well, not like a classic. I like support jobs. Yeah, I'm not a buff guy. I'm like, fuck your diet soda. But yeah.
Well, I got some right here, Jeff.
Yeah, it's Game fun, ninja fun, sage fun, assassin a little fiddlier but still fun, Kraken little easy.
And
Then
yeah,
the
I
plot
started
kicks
to
in.
gravitate towards the fast hitting jobs, and then that made
Yeah.
me kind of having a hard time in terms of going back to the slower hitting jobs. It's like I just want to stab things, I just want to punch things, I want to go fast.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they
but I
stack
guess,
up.
like,
They stack up
props to-
MP so fast too. Like the faster you're hitting, the more MP you're picking up in many
Right.
cases.
Yeah, it's just letting you do more stuff. I guess props to Thief for being low-key kind of underwhelming.
Yeah,
I think we already talked about this in the last episode, but like the main thing Thief does is just get you more shit
And you don't
in
need
addition
it.
to be kind of fast, and it's a game where you do not need to get more stuff.
and then also getting more stuff makes the fiddlier menu based stuff. God, they really did just use the 13 even like stroke remake 7 menu system in this game when they probably should have devised something different. Because so I started to try and interact with the crafting system in this game, and it is utterly pointless. It's such a carbon pasted idea from their previous work like Neo, where you have this crafting system, but because resources and new drops are so plentiful, there's really no reason to interact with that crafting mechanic, even though that's the easiest way to like get rid of shit from your menu. And I think that while I do agree that the jobs are plentiful and there are plenty of them, boy, it is around this point when it's like, please, for the love of God, game, could you start introducing new animations and new enemy types? Because I'm so sick and tired of seeing the same soul shield, soul break animations over and over again. I'm tired of seeing him take the body of the elementals and smash them into their face. I'm tired of seeing the thing where he rips the head off the skeleton and then like punching them in the stomach, because I've seen it at least over 100 times.
Yeah.
And the game just doesn't have that variety. There are all of these wonderful, cool jobs, and yet too often they boil down to you seeing the same 5 to 7 animations for an entire level that can go up to an hour long. It's almost as if the levels and the actual things that they populate the levels with don't play up the variety of jobs, which is the game's strongest asset.
I mean, I think that they basically carrot and stick you. They carrot you to diversify. Instead of having a stick of like, I need to use a different job for this enemy, they are constantly giving you more buffs and more things to do so that you are encouraged to move and diversify which jobs you're playing. It's an interesting attempt, right? Like, I don't remember many games that will completely allow you to just use the same 2 jobs and steamroll most things, but give you good reasons to swap. Usually you just hit up against something where the tactic you're using just stops working. Here, the tactic, like your pocket tactic, might work for the whole game, but there's a bunch of good reasons to do other things that the game is trying to prod you in that direction, even if it doesn't force you.
That's fine, but the deluge of junk doesn't just apply to the equipment. Like, needing to fiddle around with the combo abilities and the command abilities every single time you want to mix things up. It's like, oh, hey, you changed your job. We're going to disable these 2 things, but we're not going to autofill those slots. You got to figure it out on your own. It's just so much fiddling. And it just was annoying to have to fiddle with those menus every single time I wanted to check out a new job or try and level things up to keep them on par. I
mean, it's only when you change weapons that you need to change those equipments, and the job abilities, the attack combo moves that you get.
It's so easy to lose track of when you get command abilities, get new passives, get new buffs. It's so easy to lose track of them.
You don't need
even
to
when you're just
them,
interacting with. The game warns you that you might need to do this, you might need to do that. Like, it's just, I didn't feel ever comfortable with like the cavalcade of options that the game was constantly.
I just picked ones that I hadn't seen just so that I could see new animations. Like, I didn't. I basically figured if I unlocked something and it was in a later class than the one that I had before, it's probably just better, and it usually was. So I just would, as soon as I got an ability from Ninja, if I had learned an ability from Thief, I'm throwing out the ability from Thief and I'm equipping the one from Ninja. And the only point where it became a little bit annoying for me was at this point in the game, after Kraken, you start getting weapons that have abilities that come with the weapons themselves. Once you start getting kind of the red tier of weapon, the like legendary tier of weapon, and those abilities are like wildly different than the ones you unlock from going up the skill tree. And that means that if you change your weapon, the abilities just go away or get replaced with an ability from the next weapon that you equip. So I found like at this point I was using Rune Knight, and I had a Rune Knight blade that like had an ability that basically did like blade shockwave sort of stuff, like a ranged attack that would send slashes out at my enemies, and it dealt an absurd amount of damage. But there was another weapon that had higher stats or like better affinities that I wanted to equip instead because of the affinities, but it had a shittier ability.
Okay,
And so
speaking about that, something that drove me absolutely crazy, and then I'll cede the floor for a little bit. So I started to play around with the affinity system. I did not realize that the auto button, the auto equip button, applies to all characters. So
Yes.
here I was
Yeah.
playing around with Jack. It's like, okay, Jack, you're going to be 120%, 200% Sage. Okay, let's go to you guys. All right, you know what? I don't give a shit about you guys. You're just the side characters. Auto. Oh, wait, that just undid all of the work that I spent meticulously fiddling through menus on Jack. Fucking great. Hated that. Hated that.
I did not enjoy that either. It did. Once I caught it, I knew to account for it going forward, but it didn't
Yep.
make it any better.
then I just equipped everyone manually at that point. I just didn't use the auto equip ability anymore. Or I'd hit auto and then only equip Jack.
I just didn't enjoy the process of swimming through the menus in this game, so I just got to the point where it's like, okay, you don't value this, so I'm just going to hit optimize for everything because I just can't. I don't have the mental, like there's no easy means of selling gear. The fact that you have to go to the blacksmith menu and then just dismantle things and then deal with this crafting system that's so incremental that it might as well not exist. It's just a bunch of systems upon systems grafted onto menus that don't feel like they fit well. And then on top of that, so Strangers of Paradise mostly forgoes the traditional RPG mechanics like visiting merchants, exploring towns, except probably the weirdest, most bizarre, surrealist art thing where you can go to the fountain and talk to NPCs that follow you throughout the story. And that is the weirdest, most bizarre thing that they did is let's talk to these NPCs that are supposed to create this wholeness of the world that is a part of the Final Fantasy kind of mantra. It was... So what did you guys think of that part? Because
I mean, it's completely throwaway. I stopped engaging with it after a little bit because most of the characters just go like, I thought you said you saved the Earth Crystal, but now there's earthquakes everywhere. And it's like, oh, see, there's ramifications on the world for you and what you're doing. But it's, it's like 2 sentences per character, and I can't care about these people. The game doesn't care about these people.
Well, the problem is that the game wants you to care about these people because they factor into the story.
Does it?
At the very end. Well, see, and here's the problem is that if you're going to take the time to create this schlocky adventure that kind of recontextualizes the original Final Fantasy, then do the Hideo Kojima thing where you're balls to the wall all the entire time, rather than, oh shit, I missed a tooltip in the loading screen and I may have missed a thing that you were trying to tell me. And so, I don't know, the story didn't really click. The fact that, me bringing this up is just, I just find this story incredibly disjointed. I mean, the cutscenes are fine. They pop up and during in between missions, and they relay some of the important concepts, but with so much of this story hidden in the most non-user-friendly, non-player-friendly ways like tooltips or load screens or hidden collectibles, I think that there's a genuine risk that this game does not click for people. It didn't click for me for different reasons, but with so much of the story just hidden away in like fiddle faddle, I think that there are people where this story just does not actually work.
I mean, it it explicitly tells you what happens if you don't, like, it foreshadows what's going on and gives some further context if you get the collectibles, which those collectibles are almost all main path, the ones that have story relevant stuff. The stuff on the side paths tend to be treasure chests, etc. But it then just tells you, and we're about to get to the part where the game just tells you what the hell's going on.
not to belabor this, but I use my wife as a yardstick for caring about Final Fantasy stuff because like she grew up, like she got in touch with this stuff earlier than I did in her life, so like in theory is in a position to really really like this, and she was like deeply, I don't know if put off's the right word, but I played the demo of this game and the the drop down talk to people in the town thing. I was just like, well, it's probably this is probably just something they're going to like implement later somehow differently than this. And the fact that they didn't, like, I understand why, and I'm not like Trump, like it doesn't keep me up at night necessarily. It's just weird until you think about, oh right, budget. This game probably was not the most expensive outing in the world. So modeling this town was probably cheaper just to rig these people standing next to a fountain.
Yep, the same fountain. Each person, the same fountain.
Yeah. But yeah, it's freaking weird. But plot though. A plot.
Yeah, so the A plot, once you like menus, definitely a problem. Some of the auto equip stuff more annoying than it needs to be. The crafting system sucks, and you should engage with it as little as you can for the most part. I wish there was a better way to sell stuff or auto sell stuff, but what can you do?
Design
all
a
of
better
that
game.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that when we get to ranking this, you're not going to be inconsistent in your values here. I'm sure. So when we like actually look at the main plot, right? After you defeat Kraken, you are basically trying to find what's his name? Oh, Astos. You're like, Astos, we killed all the fiends, etc. Jack doesn't feel satiated. We think chaos stuff is still going on. Something's still going on. And you basically get led by the nose to two different dungeons where you're just trying to find Astos, and you're following his little bats. So the first one is the FF11 level, which is pretty big. You fight an iron giant in there. It's pretty cool. Astos tells you...
The fact that 11 got a level is pretty cool. Also, if you join our Discord, you'll know that there's a shocking amount of Final Fantasy 11 content in our Discord. I actually like that part of 11 because it's connected to an expansion pack. 11's got a cool story, and I'm glad they picked the right level is what I'm saying.
Yes.
The one thing I would say, and I know we kind of brought this up before, but they picked the correct level for 11. There are so many games where they picked what I would definitively say was that is the wrong level for that game. And I know we talked about Mount Gulg and the lava cavern, but when they pick a pretty uninteresting level, the very cookie cutter level design, and sometimes the flick a switch so is that a door that you passed opens up. When there's not enough, because we're going to get to the Final Fantasy 15 level, when the level does not resonate with the player and it doesn't feel like something like, yeah, it's got the music and it's got the characters. They're going through a best hits version of the game. Like when that doesn't connect, it's like, fuck, I guess I really am just going to be in this office space court of Final Fantasy 15 for like an hour.
God, that 15 level is dire.
It's so bad.
The 15 level sucks.
Yeah.
It's an interior office building. So, like, the 11 level, you fight an iron giant. Astos tells you, there's one other thing you need to fight. It's this FF15 level. Go over there.
Yeah.
You go to the FF15 level. It is a nondescript office building. I would say the only part of it I remember at all is when you go through a garden and there's a corpse flower in it, because that's at least interesting visually. But the rest of it just looks like nondescript office building. You fight a behemoth at the end, and Jack has a very good moment at the end where he goes, "It's a behemoth! Wait, why do I know that?" Which is very funny.
Well, the characters, I'll give you this. The characters do start to like, "Hey, Jack, does this remind you of anything?" Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. "Hey, Jack, I'm going to tell you a thing or two about a thing or two.
Mm-hmm.
You think anything interesting about that? Huh?"
Yeah, and
so
Jack tells Jed, I believe, to shut up in this level, and he doesn't want to hear...
trying to pour his hearts out in, I think, the Final Fantasy V Earth Court, right?
That was the Earth level when he tells Jed to shut up. This is the level where Jack is, like, depressed because he doesn't feel like the drive to kill chaos anymore. And he's just like, what are we even doing here? And everyone's trying to get him to care again. You defeat the behemoth. Then you get pointed at, I think, the coolest level in the game, the FF6 level, where you're going to meet Astos and kind of find out what's going on. So the FF6 level, it's the floating continent from FF6. And there's 3 sections you need to go to. You need to fight the statues from FF6, like the 3 statues in FF6 are each like different subsections of the level, so you can unlock the main pathway. What did y'all think of that one? I thought that was the most involved. It's got the most useful backtracking. It's got the biggest map, I think, as well.
Yeah, actually cool. Not even just for like the Homer FF6 stuff. Like you get your environmental puzzle solvey kind of bits. I don't know. I think the way they try to get across the weird, gross, dare I say, eldritch sort of oeuvre of the floating continent that they tried to depict via sprite art in 6, they did a good job of that.
The ground is fleshy and pulpy.
Yeah, it looks wrong. It looks like a bad place to be.
I really like the filter changes when you go to the different areas. So that it's divided into 3 areas, and there's like a yellow filter, and then there's a red filter, and there's a green filter.
And this is also one of the areas where they introduce a new enemy type. They introduce the Arimons. Which are really cool to see represented here, and they're one of the hardest regular enemies in the game. So
the mind flayers are also no joke too.
Yeah, and they introduced that one. The mind flayer, I think, is introduced either in this level or in the 11 level, but it's introduced relatively
well-known
soon around this
D&D
time.
OpenGL enemy type mind flayer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Celebrative. Right up there with Happy Birthday, right?
Yes. Anyway. So like this, I think this section of the game is where the backtracking earns it the most. A lot of Zipu, would you agree that a lot of the complaints you have about the levels leading up to this one, this level escapes a lot of those problems? Like the backtracking actually is meaningful.
Sure, I would just say that I hate the traps in this level. Ugh, God, the times when it's like, oh, that pile of bones was a hole. Now you got to climb back up. Like that's just annoying.
Yeah, there's only a few, but every time if you fall down the trap hole, that sucks. That very much sucks.
And the trap hole is always filled with horrible enemies that are not the most fun to deal with.
Yep. This is also this is the most soulsy this game gets, I think. It's between this one and the FF2 level, but I think this level actually has
FF2 level
more backtracking and traps on the ground that will just like hurt you. There's pitfalls into enemy pits. Like this is the most malicious the level design gets, which makes sense because this is kind of the penultimate actual level. So you fight your way to Astos. He's at the very end. And Astos, Jack is like, so Astos, tell me what's going on here. And Astos is like, Jack, first you tell me, who am I? And Astos is like, Jack's like, you're a dark elf. And he's like, Jack, who am I? And Jack's like, you've been leading us around. I don't know. And Astos is like, well, I'll just have to make you remember then. And you start fighting. He's very fast. Oh, I also didn't say, when I was in this level, this is the level where I started using the teleport ability from the sage.
Yes.
Yep.
And in this level, I just literally teleported the whole level. I just teleported up to the boss fight door, killed the statue, teleported away. I didn't fight a single enemy in this place until the boss, basically, because teleport's sick. You just blink around everywhere. You can't take damage while you're teleporting. You move super fast. You teleport as fast as you can mash the button. It's ridiculous. It looks so weird and glitchy, but it's fun. It's weirdly fun to do, I think. So yeah, fighting Astos. After you fight his first form, Jack and Astos go fist to fist. Like they do one of those, I'm punching you, you're punching me, and our fists meet. And because it is a fist bump, Jack's memory is rekindled because he's a fist bump guy. And he starts having flashbacks to him and Astos in previous iterations of the loop, hanging out, being buddies. And then Astos transforms into Omega, I believe, like an Omega weapon.
It was Ultima Weapon or Omega?
It might be Ultimate. It's one of Ultima Weapon or Omega Weapon. It's some giant monstrosity.
It's Ultimate Weapon. Okay, Ultima Weapon.
So you fight him in this form, and once you defeat him, he turns back into a Dark Elf. And he explains the plot. So, the plan is, Jack has hatched this plan. Jack has been to this place a bunch. He's a special stranger who's like extra good at resetting this world. It turns out the Lufenians are this extraterrestrial group of beings. They started on the world that you're in Corneria. They eventually got higher technology and higher knowledge. They moved to a pocket dimension where they exist with their high tech, and they basically maintain their old planet as a backwater. They are constantly tweaking it so that the people are never rising up too much. They are never getting too advanced. Darkness doesn't grow too much. Light doesn't grow too much. They're basically treating Corneria and all of its people as a science experiment. And anytime things get out of whack, they send in strangers to purify the crystals and basically cause the world to get reset. And then they will literally reset the world. Everything starts over again. They start a new loop. And I guess the energy from this loop is getting sent somewhere. Like the resets generate a bunch of energy. There's a log that says it's going somewhere. It's not revealed in this game or at this point in the game. So Jack's plan, because he has come to this place, he's fallen in love with his people. He's fallen in love with Princess Sarah, the princess who keeps getting reset over and over and over again. And he devises a plan with Astos, who is his friend, to basically have Astos work since he remembers things, he can guide Jack and his crew to where they need to go so that they can trigger they can create chaos. Basically, chaos, this being of infinite darkness, is something that the Lufenians cannot control. They don't have the power to fight it. They don't have the power to deal with it. They're super scared of it. So Jack's plan is to become chaos, to build up the amount of darkness in the world over time so that all that darkness flows into him. He becomes chaos, topples the Lufenians. He becomes the bad guy. He pulls I don't know, what's an equivalent? It's some real, Batman in the Dark Knight. I'm not the hero this world deserves, but I'm the hero it needs right now sort of logic. Like, I'm going to plunge this world into darkness because that's better than the control. I mean, it's FF12 Vane sort of stuff, right? Like, sure. I'm going to kill the gods because then at least we'll have free will. Who cares if the gods are steering us in a good direction? We'd rather be free than be slaves.
It is exactly what Nomura was advertising from the start, if you really think about it. It's the story of an angry man.
It is.
How fucking stupid. I love the brick-like nature of it. I love that, every sin I have enumerated and agreed with ZP totally erased by this. I think this game is officially great.
It's also other plot point here. The white bats that are flying around Astos all the time, they're apparently Lufenians who Astos has captured over the years, turned into bats, and made immortal by them being bats. So they're super pissed off that they've been transmogrified into bats. And so Astos also hates the Lufenians and hates everything that's been done to him because he's been genetically modified to be this assistant creature who lives forever and has knowledge through all the resets. So he's basically been stuck in this loop for thousands of years. And he and the bats are so pissed off that when they die, all of that darkness just gets unleashed into the world. Critical fails the world, basically. ZP, did you have a take on this?
I know you two like this story, but I started to play this game, and I felt like this story was very familiar. Like, wait a minute. This story is something that I've seen before. In fact, I believe I've seen this before in a Final Fantasy game, and so I had to double check who the lead writer for this game was.
Yeah,
and the lead writer
last
for this
show.
game is Kazushige Nojima. It's like, that name sounds familiar. I remember this name. And I found out that Kazushige...
He's the Mobius guy.
Yes. And that's the problem. This is literally a self-plagiarism of the story of Mobius Final Fantasy. In fact, I took notes, and as I played this game, I started to rewatch the cinematics of Mobius Final Fantasy, and so I'm going to just read what I wrote from my notes. Wool, the main protagonist, awakes stricken with amnesia in the foreign world of Palmesia. He is one of multiple blanks, people brought to Palmesia from other worlds and suffering from amnesia. Palmesia is under attack from the armies of Chaos, and Wool must fulfill a prophecy in Palmesia that one of the blanks is a warrior of light who will free this world from its darkness. Wool is aided on his journey by Princess Sarah Lot Cornelia, the princess of the kingdom of Palmesia, Mog, a Moogle, and eventually a man by the name of Garland. Okay, so I'm going to skip some of this other superficial stuff. As you guys may or may not recall, there's a voice in the air that talks to him. So this is basically what happens in the end of Mobius Final Fantasy. Wool eventually meets up with Maya, a wizard who has been exiled from the kingdom of Palmesia for practicing the dark arts. Together they journey to free Palmesia from its cycle of hope and despair. They discover that the purpose of the world and the prophecy is to generate and accumulate the light of hope and transfer it to another faraway world which is pulling strings and controlling the land of Palmesia. And this process would continue in an endless cycle of death and rebirth, allowing the other world to remain powered. As a result, the other world, it creates the Lord of Darkness known as Chaos, who is resurrected each time, unleashing a flood of darkness that erases everyone's memories, then reuses their spirits to restart the Warrior of Light's journey as a blueprint for the narrative of the prophecy with each loop. Knowing this, Wool chooses to end the cycle by killing Chaos, closing the portal to the other realm, freeing the inhabitants from a world of its laws, and then creating that what is now known as the Gate of Hope. Garland and his company freeze the world. Meantime, Wool, Sarah, and Maya are then seen slumbering inside crystals in an unknown location, waiting to be awakened again.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they both of these games are written by the same person, based on FF1, very much riding those same rails. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up just having a straight up narrative connection, because it seems like Dissidia, the Dissidia universe is going to come into play.
Oh yeah,
here.
this is also the Dissidia team, the Dissidia writing team. Now, it is important to say later that the connection between this and Dissidia is going to get more expressed later, but we won't talk about that for now.
Yeah, but like the light and dark stuff, that is also just Dissidia stuff. Like Dissidia Opera Omnia does this too.
Canonically,
like,
Dissidia is World B. The world of Final Fantasy 1 is World A.
And I mean, like, you know, some of this is just like themes.
Yeah.
Like Final Fantasy has played with this for a long time, but like even beyond that, like, you know, I like the Theatrhythm games. The Theatrhythm games also play explicitly in this like weird sort of campy chaos, god damn it, I'm gonna say the word, but like multiverse kind of space.
Yep.
Well before this. Yeah, I like the Lufinians are explicitly a Dissidia thing and have been for like a decade. Right?
Yeah, I mean they're
am I right about that?
Yeah, they're in the Dissidia stuff, and Lufenia is actually in Final Fantasy 1. It is the advanced magic place, if you remember, when you need to like learn another language so that you can talk to the people there. Like that is from FF1. So like all of this stuff is bubbling around because this is a Dissidia tie. It's gonna be a Dissidia tie-in at some point. This game also plays in those same spaces that those other ones do, and I mean, it's not that I think this is the most original story. I mean, it's a Dark Knight sort of thing, right? It's the execution. It is the fist bumping of your bro Astos, remembering that you're bros, and then having flashbacks because you fist bumped by accident while punching each other. Like those goofy ass bits, and then the section we're about to discuss. I don't care that it's not original. I just was laughing the whole time. I was enjoying it too much to care that it wasn't especially original.
This is where we're going to have to agree to disagree. I don't think that's the intended reaction that they wanted you to have with this game. I think
don't
they were
care
actually
about their intent.
Okay, sure. And you know what? And I'm not going to make a big deal about this because that was my appeal. That was my connection to Lightning Returns. I just think that all of this would be more impactful, and I would have had a lot more fun if the story was not so confusingly told. It was heavily lacking in context in ways that don't always feel purposeful, and that most of the characters didn't feel flat and kind of boring. And there were just all of these meaningless interactions with characters because
it's 5 amnesiacs until the end of the game when it goes, and here was what was going on. Like it's very much saying like, we are leading you along by the nose with the nostalgia stuff, hoping you get to this point, and then here's the reveal. So like, I don't know. I mean, this game clearly did not have as much budget as some of the other games in the series. Like they just did not have, or they chose to spend their money on these different classes and some cutscenes and stuff like that. They didn't give you the nice interstitial parts that would have fleshed these characters out. And I think they intentionally made them really blank as a result. I'm not, that doesn't forgive what's there. You're not going to have the fun Final Fantasy experience of like getting to know your crew because these are just himbo idiots for the most part that are super duper flat. It's only kind of this main plot twist and some of the other story moments that are extra funny that really sell this game. And I think your acceptance or enjoyment of those concessions, that's the whole crux of it, right? If that twist doesn't work for you and have you laughing, then you're not going to like this game as much, right? Especially if you didn't love the combat, which I really enjoy the combat. And Jeff, it sounds like you enjoyed it, but not as much because, you were playing on easy and it just didn't have that much depth on easy.
Yeah.
So like, I think it comes down to just like, what is your opinion of this twist and how it's delivered? And do you like the combat enough for it to paper over the fact that some of that stuff is repetitive? I enjoyed it enough that, I played some of the DLC stuff because I like the combat so much. If you think it's just okay, then this game isn't going to speak to you as much, for certain. And it's impossible. It's very hard to avoid the combat in this game like you can in some of the other games. So yeah, I think that's where we come down, right, CP?
Sure, I agree with that. All I would say is I really, speaking of like the game kind of not necessarily having a big budget, I really didn't like it when it repeated the whole defend Cornelia from this bum rush of enemies that were just going to throw this ungodly treasure trove of baddies here for the second time.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you very much.
We skipped over the first time. So when you have to go get Astos, I think it's the pirates that are attacking the first time.
You get your last bit with BK, which was a good moment where he's like, I thought I would go out. Guns are blazing. That was a fun moment.
My men, they were taken over by the darkness, and then they did bad stuff. Yeah, so that happens. There's a false kind of ending. You defeat the 4 fiends, and then you head back to Cornelia, and you're like, look, we restored the light. And then the darkness unleashed by the crystals turns people, all the pirates, into monsters and stuff, and you have to fight them. We skipped over that, but yeah, Princess Sarah, they tell to like hide and stuff. They almost kill the king. And when you come back this time, they do kill the king, I think. And Sarah is there as well. In this section. So you come back, there's darkness all over the town. Jack he's been made aware that like he previously set this into motion to create chaos, but he doesn't know that he's going to be the one who's being made into chaos yet, and he doesn't know what it will take. So at this point, you come back to the castle, you fight some enemies. Princess Sarah dies and gives you a crystal. She gives you a dark crystal. And then you have to kill all of your friends. They all start attacking you.
After she gives you her jade egg, you have to kill all your friends after you go through this gauntlet of enemies.
Yep. And you have to kill all of your friends because your friends basically need to do enough psychic and emotional damage to you that you will become chaos. So you snap all their necks, and then Jack fist bumps the air because his friends are dead, and he starts yelling and screaming to himself, and the darkness absorbs into him, and he has a flashback that...
No, he gets transported to future world, alternate other world, right?
Well, so next he has a flashback that Astos tells him,
oh, right.
like, if you need to go back to Lefenia, there's an exit teleport, and it's supposed to move around, but, like, just between you and me, they almost always put it at the Chaos Shrine. It's almost always there. So Jack fights his way back through the Chaos Shrine alone, brimming with chaos energy. Gets
It's a real pain in the ass doing it by yourself.
Well, I mean, I just turned on teleport and teleported there without fighting anything. So for me,
I should mention that
Yeah.
whole second
Honestly,
bit in
same.
Cornelia. You don't need to fight any of the enemies. You can just make a beeline. You don't need to fight anything other than the boss battle against your homies. You can just truck past them.
Just
Don't even
teleport
need to
away.
fight.
Yep.
No, you don't even need to teleport. You can just walk past everything. You're
Oh
faster.
yeah, I
than
just
all-
found it faster to teleport
Yeah.
past them.
Yeah, that was like teleport. Sage is such a good class.
Yeah,
It is.
You
Yo.
want to know something else that's fun? In the fire level, in the fire cavern, you can just teleport over lava.
Oh
So-
shit! Really?
Yeah, so you can just mash the teleport button and just go straight past all of the molten lava without cooling it. So that
I
level's
did
like
not
2
try
minutes.
that. Yeah,
I
okay.
gravitated usually towards a paladin, white mage, sage combo. I guess that is the one thing I want to say is an unmitigated success story in this game, even into the late game. The only time when I feel like I fell off being invested in the game and continuing it was when I felt like I topped out with the classes that you have at the start of, or the base game, vanilla. And luckily, when you start to, if you do invest in the DLC, they give you a new treasure trove of options on top of that in terms of keeping old classes up to snuff and even exploring these new classes. I'm pretty sure people are going to find these crazy combos, and it's going to be a thrill for you to find them on your own. That part, totally undeniable. The need for potions, absolutely non-existent by this point, unless you get to the boss battles.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can just blink your way over all that shit. for the most
Regen,
part.
all of these cool passive abilities.
Yeah, it's cool. So at this point, Jack has been Joker-fied. He's killed his friends. He's full of darkness. He teleports back to Lefenia. Lefenia's like runs a scan on him, and they're like, he's
He got the
covered
dorkness in him.
he's full of darkness. Stop him. And he punches their crystal matrix or whatever that tries to stop him. And they're like, Jack, you're too corrupted. We have to. Sorry, Jack, you were a good soldier, but we'll need to send you back. And he goes, no, you can't send me back. And then he has a fight inside of himself with chaos to determine whether he has the power to control chaos. So he has to subdue chaos to become chaos. And so you have your final boss fight against chaos. Did y'all pick up on a subtle element of chaos's design? That chaos has like
he has
a
the heads of
necklace.
your friends.
Yeah, he's got the heads of all of your friends as a necklace.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool design. This boss battle sucks.
What sucked about it?
The different phases of him. And then you have to go through this entire fucking gauntlet of this level by yourself, which again, if you're teleporting, fine. But yeah, I don't know. This entire the Dark Manifest, whatever it was called, this battle sucks.
I watched you do this battle, and I will say this is a battle that the more scared you are of chaos, the more of a pain in the ass this will be. This fight, you can just run up on him and wail on him. Just like teleporting around, blocking some stuff, parrying his elemental attacks and sending them back at him. Like some of his attacks just leave him completely vulnerable. But if you're just trying to be as safe as possible, this fight is boring as hell because He is very fast when you get up close to him. If you don't know his patterns or have good strategies for how to deal with his fast melee attacks, he will kill you very quickly. So it does feel natural to just stand back and parry the 2 or 3 moves he does that are very telegraphed and very easy to parry, and then just try to spam Sage. I did that the first time I beat Chaos, but I found my second playthrough when I really, mastered the teleporting and the blood weapon and all that sort of stuff and how to play it that way. I found that I beat it on the first try just because it's much easier. You get freaked out because he'll kill you so fast. Yeah. But if you are able to go in on him and play that way.
I gravitated towards magic. My play style was just not get in on him. I did not have the leveled up classes to close the distance. And so I do feel like the problem with this boss is that he kind of does favor a certain playstyle over others at the expense of others.
I mean, it's not that you just have to get melee hits in when he leaves himself vulnerable. If you just so he uses 4 elements, right? He does fire, water,
and I'm
wind,
saying that
earth.
That's not how I preferred to play this game up to this point.
So his fire attack, he just he makes a hot spot under you, and then if you stand there, he'll hit you. If you get out from the circle, he won't. If he places that circle far away from him, you just run up on him and hit him. Wow, he's got to do that whole animation. Same thing with if he does the earth move, it's just a ground pound around him, and he's left vulnerable after it. The wind move, you kind of have to run away, and that's one where you can cast a spell pretty safely. Same thing with the water. The water move is probably the most scary because it comes out really fast and has a wide hitting area, and you want to be far away from him for that. But almost all of these moves, if you want to get in on him after he's done them, you can get a hit or two, and that helps your mana regen, and then you're not relying on the mana regen entirely from the parrying system. So it's tough. If you didn't play with some get in, get out, that's really what the game's encouraging with its how you restore MP. But if you can get through most of this game without really duck in, duck out, and that it'll bite you here. It'll make the fight take way longer, at least until you get to phase 2, because when you get to phase 2, your MP just auto regens, and you can just spam whatever the fucking spells you want.
Just go bonkers.
Yeah, you just go sicko mode in the second part, and that feels really powerful when you just get to use all your abilities as much as you want. And I think it's fitting for the final battle with Chaos. That then you kill Chaos and become Chaos, and basically tell Lufenia, if I see you around these parts again, I'll fucking end you. And Lufenia's like, that guy's crazy. leave that dimension alone. We're done. We're done here. And so Jack becomes Garland from... also, if they had not announced that his name was Jack Garland in the promotional material of this game, they don't say his last name is Garland until the final cutscene.
Yeah, I think they blew their wad ever so slightly. It's not like it was particularly shocking or whatever, but it tipped their hand maybe just a little bit too far.
Yeah, they spoiled it when they didn't need to. They say, Jack Garland, what are you doing? Something like that. And then it's supposed to be, oh, I'm Garland. But...
And you go, oh, I've been playing these for 35 years. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm in. Got it. Yeah, so you become Chaos. It cuts back to you in the Chaos Shrine. Jack has embraced being Chaos. The 4 fiends run up to him, because he's in charge now. And one by one, it shows the 4 fiends, and then it cuts back to Garland, and then one by one, each of your homies walk up to you, and they turn back into their normal selves. So basically the 4 fiends are your friends. To other people, they look like fiends. To Jack, they look like your homies. And your plan is basically to plunge the world into so much darkness and make the world of FF1 so shitty that in response to that, a warrior of light will come up. An actual warrior of light will come up and fulfill the prophecy that you guys were kind of stand-ins for. And then you get a cutscene of like the Warrior of Light opening up the door to take down Jack. So yeah, and then you get the cutscene from the beginning of the game again, and you see Jack kidnapping Sarah, and you realize that because Jack and Sarah were in love, it's actually supposed to be, it completely restructures that scene.
Yeah,
but
I will say there's a little bit more of a comedy aspect to it when he's like carrying Sarah, and he's just like, fuck. Shit. I should have taken a horse or something.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah, he just keeps...
Look,
all
I will say is Stranger of Paradise is a Team Ninja game first and a compelling story third, not even second. And approaching Stranger of Paradise with any sort of expectation that you're going to get an actual Final Fantasy game is going to lead to disappointment. And I'm not even disappointed that it's not an actual Final Fantasy game. When you view it through the lens of like it's a campy B movie and you're just killing chaos for the thrill of it, and it's kind of fun and engaging in between there, sure, it's fine. I will say though, I think it is completely fucked up that some of the most compelling story stuff that they are doing with this game is DLC. Now, I know that Gino has played this.
We'll cover this separately.
We need to review the DLC separately because I am back on fucking board with what they are doing with the DLC.
Good.
Because holy shit, Jeff. The story DLC is at least twice. It's so good. The story in the DLC is significantly better than this. And it gets its stuff in quicker.
Well, it gets its stuff in quicker
because the difficulty controversy aside, and I'll just quickly summarize the difficulty controversy, Gino, and then you can chime in. So they sold this DLC with a season pass, and in fact, if you boot up the game, it says buy the season pass here. The first two DLC packages require you to play the game at a difficulty level at its max, and they did not tell consumers this, so everyone who played the game on easy or normal, and that was where they maxed out in terms of engaging with the mechanics, felt burned. And you know what? Those fans are correct. They should have communicated that in the first place, especially that considering they were selling a season pass.
Yeah.
The first DLC package is very bland. The stuff with Bahamut is just, here's a special challenge mode. The second one is when the cool shit starts happening. And then the third one, again, we're not going to review the DLC. We kind of have to review it separately. The third one has a job that is referenced to Final Fantasy Unlimited. And that kind of tells you everything that I think they're going to do with this game if they do ever make a sequel or if they just kind of procedurally keep it alive with these seasonal packages. But this game in particular, in a lot of ways, and this is a complete hyperbole. This is in fact a completely unfair comparison because this game ends and has an ending. In a lot of ways, this reminded me of Asura's Wrath. And the fact that you reach the end of Asura's Wrath, and it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Oh, wait, the rest of the story's told through DLC. Cool. Shit. Fuck.
Also, it's the story of an angry man.
It's also a story of an angry man. If this is what they're doing to Nomura, like, it's, hey, Nomura, give us an idea about how we can continue to piss off or take the piss out of Final Fantasy VII fans. Here, alternate dimensions, we're going to do this stuff. Okay, cool, Nomura. Go back to making weird Stranger of Paradise stuff and driving the Kingdom Hearts franchise directly into the ground. If this is what they're doing with Nomura so is that he stops bankrupting the company, like, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Have him do these little weird sandboxes where he's making games with this angry man. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, this game, it ends well. So
the DLC, Gino. Holy shit.
We'll cover the DLC separately, but boy, I'm looking forward to it. I just played the first DLC, but I'm looking forward to the second and the third. All right, so Jeff, any closing thoughts on the ending of this game, or
like if you had, I guess I kept myself like relatively clean, which I'm kind of surprised by. Like I was even somewhat surprised by like, oh, we're kind of exploring multiple Final Fantasy maps, which is a thing you can go here on the first episode. Go check it out. But if you had told me this is going to be a game that, I don't know if it retcons necessarily, but it takes what I have to assume was the fobbed off afterthought conceived in about an hour or two plot of Final Fantasy 1, which is like a ridiculous time loop, not like it's a nonsense, and writes a whole ass lore around that, and then puts Limp Bizkit in it, and it's
and
cohesive.
Frank Sinatra
and
then,
Frankie.
Oh, I didn't even say the end of the game.
Lest we forget.
The final credits. It says theme song of Stranger of Paradise composed by Frank Sinatra.
As if Frank Sinatra was alive when he made the theme song, or My Way was for Stranger of Paradise.
My Way was always for Stranger of Paradise. He didn't know it when he composed it, but this song was for this game.
Jeff, could you say your last point?
Finish your point. Sorry, that just activated me.
It's it's an unbelievable dumb thing, and like it sounds like a terrible idea, but like I think they actually kind of land it. Like I have a lot of small gripes with this game for sure, and I also feel like, you know, I'm like, hey, play things on easy. There's no such thing as cheating, etc. All that applies. I feel like I may have robbed myself a little bit of like what this game actually kind of is by cruising through it, but I did get through the thing that I think I was most excited about, or became most excited about, was, again, like, you remember that time where you get to the end of Final Fantasy 1 and a guy in a suit of armor is just like, yeah, I've been doing this for a while. I went back in time to go forwards in time, I think. I don't know. Anyway, now fight chaos. They're like, no, this is a game about that exchange specifically.
It turns out that Jack Garland he's created the scenario to create the perfect soldier of light to kill him.
I just want to say something real quick that Jeff reminded me of. To the people who got really pissed off about this game retconning Final Fantasy 1, it didn't. It's an alternate reality. I think they've been very clear that this is an alternate timeline. But also, what part of Final Fantasy 1 had a story that you couldn't just creatively just take the piss out of or recontextualize? Because there's no story in Final Fantasy 1. There isn't.
It's there, but it's like barely there. Like
it's barely there.
I'm sorry if Astos is a cool dude who fist bumps now and cries. I'm sorry if that's not what you imagined when you saw the sprite of the long-tongued dark elf. Sorry.
I guess that the reason why this came up is that now Wikipedia has officially designated Stranger of Paradise as a prequel to Final Fantasy 1. And people are like,
I mean, but it is.
Yeah.
Like, what else would you say? Look, getting precious about the plot of Final Fantasy 1 is
it's
very, very silly. Like, I understand people care about these games. I care about these games. I fucking showed up at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday to do a podcast about them, for God's sake. Okay? I should be in bed. I should be out petting my dog. So, like, I do deeply care about these games in some sense. But, like, don't kid yourself that the people that put together Final Fantasy 1 agonized over, like, the details of the plot. Okay? Sakaguchi probably doesn't recall. Like, if you were to probe him, ask him, hey, explain the plot of Final Fantasy 1. Like, right now. Just like prod him out of bed, gun to his head, tell me about Final Fantasy 1. He's probably got nothing. Okay? Like, I all but guarantee it. Okay? Probably even less to say about 2. These games start having, like, stories that matter at 4 and not before. Okay? And 4 is also not like Shakespeare or Tolstoy or something. None of these games are Tolstoy. So I don't know. Just cool. It's okay.
I mean, when they kill Yosef in 2 and he gets crushed by that boulder, I felt something.
You felt something when you got the reference to that in 9.
Yep, nailed it.
Yeah. I don't know. I plot good, game fine. I think it's a fine Final Fantasy game. I think it's the best Final Fantasy game that they've made in a long time.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
this
it's
and
like-
remake. 7
Yeah,
remake.
like
still
I-
better.
you know,
Um,
7 notwithstanding, but yeah. So it's I guess getting into the ranking talk.
Yeah.
And
so
Jeff
let's
and I
get to
don't
it.
like 15.
Let's get to the rankings. So the rankings, as currently stands in our Final Fantasy rankings, our Ranking of Fantasies definitive rankings, goes as follows. The best Final Fantasy game of all time, according to our rankings, is Final Fantasy VI, followed by 9, then 10, then 7, then 8, then 7 Remake, then 5, then 12, then the trading card game, then Lightning Returns, then Final Fantasy 1, then Final Fantasy 5, Legend of the Crystals, the film, then Dissidia, Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, then 10-2, 13-2, FF7 Advent Children, the movie, The Spirits Within, the movie, Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy 15, the movie, Mobius Final Fantasy, A King's Tale, Final Fantasy 15, the side-scrolling beat-em-up, Last Order, Final Fantasy 7, the anime, Dad of Light, the TV show, Final Fantasy V, Dear Friends, the special album, Final Fantasy X-2, Last Mission, Final Fantasy 2, 11, 13, and Final Fantasy VI Special Tracks, the CD that's a piece of garbage, is our worst Final Fantasy thing we've ever encountered. So, where do we think Sopfo? Should we start at the bottom or the top? Or the middle?
Middle?
I mean, middle probably.
Middle. Do we think? Okay, do we think it's better than Final Fantasy X-2? I would say yes, personally.
Okay, here ZP. Here's how I'm going to try to convince you. Okay, Final Fantasy X-2 takes one of the best endings in the
Yeah,
series.
you're right. It's better
and
than
makes it
10-2.
worse.
It's better than 10-2.
This one takes one of the most fobbed off stories and makes it better.
Yeah. Okay, fine. It's better than 10-2.
I think it's better than Dissidia, Opera Omnia.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I think it's better than Legend of the Crystals.
Now we're in fighting territory.
Yeah,
I
we're
like
in
Legend of the
fighting
Crystals a lot. I
territories.
think they are similar things. They are goofy little stories that are appendages of iconic things and don't give a shit about that iconic thing they're appended to make a dumb story. I just like playing. I like playing opera. I mean, Stranger Paradise. I played it twice. I will play it more. I just really like how this game plays, and for me, that bumps it up above Legend of the Crystals.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Okay.
I think this, like, it's actually pretty good. I want to be super clear, but Legend of the Crystals. I mean,
Here's where I'm coming from. Final Fantasy 1 is directly above Legend of the Crystals.
I know, and that's why, like, God, it'd be so good to put those together, but I have to climb over Legend of the Crystals to do it.
You're asking me which type of campy experience do I want to have more?
Now, my goal here would be to get it above Lightning Returns. I don't know that that's going to happen, given the
Okay,
crowd.
what's above? Just tell me this. What is above Legend of the Crystals?
Final Fantasy 1. The
Okay,
first
you know
game.
what? I would move it to be above Legend of the Crystals because I actually want to have the Final Fantasy 1 versus Stranger of Paradise debate because I find that very funny.
I think Sopfo
Okay.
is better than Final Fantasy 1. Come on now. Come on.
I don't, but I'm also an Ook cave person and like Final Fantasy 1 an awful lot.
Do you remember ZP? Look at me. Are you looking
The
at
Earth
me
Cave
with your
is
spirit?
bad. The Ice Cave is bad.
Do you
Paralysis
remember?
is bad.
Do you remember when you got paralyzed and then you got a game over because the game doesn't have any way to stop you from
Actually,
getting paralyzed?
Gino, that never happened to me because remember, I played the GBA version where they didn't have that happen.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's cool for you. Remember when I got paralyzed and then had to just sit there and wait for the game to kill me because I couldn't take actions and also I couldn't like break the spell, so I just have to wait for the game to
All right,
euthanize my poor
I hear
paralyzed
you.
body.
Gino, remind me, what is above Final Fantasy 1?
Lightning Returns.
It's going to come down to this, and I'm going to put my foot down. I will put it above 1, but I am going to fight to the death to prevent it from going above Lightning Returns.
I think these are of the same oeuvre.
This really is kind of a... One is the odd man out in this weird trio here.
It's surrounded by campy nonsense on all sides.
I mean, I can barely tolerate it going above 1, so that's my vote, as it goes below Final Fantasy 1.
My vote is it goes above 1, but below Lightning Returns.
I would agree with Gino.
All right.
Okay.
Democracy reigns.
Okay. So
I want it
Paradise.
I want it on the record.
So our current ranking is now Final Fantasy VI, then 9, then 10, then 7, then 8, then 7 Remake, then 5, then 12, then the trading card game, then Lightning Returns, then Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, then Final Fantasy 1,
So,
then Final Fantasy V Legend of the Crystals, Dissidia Opera Omnia, 10-2, 13-2.
that is the funniest top 10.
In the sequels morass of 10-2, 13-2, 7 Advent Children, The Spirits Within, Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15, Mobius, A King's Tale Final Fantasy 15, Last Order Final Fantasy 7, Dad of Light, closing out the ancillary video section of our rankings, then FF5 Dear Friends, then 10-2 Last Mission, 2, 11, 13, and finishing it off, Final Fantasy VI Special Tracks. The worst piece of Final Fantasy garbage we've ever touched.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's really some segments. Like, it's the top is like numbered games.
Could you
really
remind me
good.
what's 10, 9, and 8?
The order?
Yeah.
Or like
Our
it
bottom
goes...
3 on our top 10 is very funny to me.
Okay, so it goes 6, 9, 10, 7, 8, 10, 7 Remake, 5, 12, TCG, Lightning Returns is our 10th, and then Sopfo.
We're so fucking bad at our jobs.
I mean, it's really like numbered games that are highly regarded up top. Then there's a bunch of side stuff, movie sequel nonsense in the middle. Then there's bad movies kind of at the lower bottom. And then it's the worst games that they made at the very bottom. Like throwaway titles and then the worst shit. Okay, so we've got another game ranked. Jeff, I believe it is your turn to pick what is the next thing we cover, and we might, we could cover the DLC of this game without some folks if we need to. And I believe
to have
y'all
a podcast about First Soldier because Jeff and I played like 2 weeks worth of that thing.
That was what I was going to say. Y'all are going to cover something that I couldn't participate in because it couldn't run on my phone. So
we're going to do that at some point coming up, and I think that's going to be a twofer. We'll talk about what the twofer is on that episode, but let's just say we're going to be really plumbing the depths of this list. I guarantee
we want to not just go to the bottom of the barrel. We want to definitively. Remember back in the day when we played 13, and there was a time when Gino was like, "There is nothing that will ever go below 13." That was like 3 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It feels like a decade ago. But I truly believe, Jeff, if we can get this to work, what will go at the bottom of the list will fucking stay there until we are dead in the dirt.
Yep. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, in terms of the good games that are left, or the real games, we've actually kind of come right down to it. There's like 3, 4, 15.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
I guess there's some MMO. So like,
and 14. Yeah.
What was that?
Some critically acclaimed MMO.
They skipped it. They went from 13 and Lightning Returns to 15.
I just hear static.
Yeah, I just don't hear anything.
Oh, sorry.
But I think it's time we covered one of the better corners of. I think it's time we touched a classic. I choose a lot of weird stuff. I don't choose a lot of like good games, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick On the Way to a Smile, Final Fantasy VII.
What is that?
Final Fantasy VII, On the Way to a Smile, the light novel, which takes place between the end of Final Fantasy VII, the hit video game.
This is the light novel tie-in that gives you the backstory to Denzel, your favorite character from Advent Children, Gino.
Oh, right, that child who I definitely remember their name. Yeah, okay.
Well, that child had a father, I think. I need to reread this. Yeah, it's a book. It's a real published book. They really printed copies of this. You might be able to go to like your pervert local bookstore that sells manga or manhwa and buy a copy of that.
It's a light novel, so it is going to say that's 208 pages. It's not actually a 208 page reading.
No, it's yeah. I will say you will get through this pretty quick.
Can I make one request for this?
Okay.
Can we also include On the Way to the Smile episode Denzel Final Fantasy VII, the OVA adaptation, the animation of episode Denzel?
Well, ZP, I wasn't going to press the point. I wasn't necessarily going to press the issue on including episode Denzel. However, since you brought it up, I do think it would be worth having a look at On the Way to a Smile, Final Fantasy VII episode Denzel, the hit OVA.
Gino, they made an entire OVA, a 30-minute, fully produced anime thing to give you the heart-wrenching backstory to Denzel.
I love that you keep pronouncing it Denzel instead of Denzel like they do. I just keep imagining Denzel Washington and his backstory in Final Fantasy
shit,
VII.
Denzel's in Advent Children? That's fucking kick-ass.
That's awesome. Training Day?
You know what the best part of Final Fantasy VII light novels is? This isn't
What?
even the last one.
No.
Oh, sick.
They did a 7. Yeah, there's a lot of light novel stuff.
Is the OVA available on the internet?
Guaranteed.
Much like FF5 Legend of the Crystals that is abandoned.
Yeah, it is. It is detritus floating somewhere. We will find out. We'll probably share a link in the Discord. As for the book, don't pirate that shit. It's literally for sale. Go buy a book. Go read a book. It's good for you.
Okay.
Except for you,
Kindle.
I allow you to do crime.
Yay! Okay. Well,
see you next time for a book.
Thank you. Next up, we've got a book. Thank you for picking this historical classic that everyone remembers and regards highly. Jeff, this is what you're on the show for, to remind us about dear friends and special tracks.
I could do other Arrange albums. I actually have a couple lined up if you'd like.
Nope. You picked. Sorry, you picked a light novel.
All right.
You fucked up. So next up, we'll be covering, I guess, a Final Fantasy VII light novel and its OVA. Thank you, ZP.
To trigger Jeff, I would just want to say Bomberman 94 is better than Bomberman 93.
Thank you, Jeff.
Saturn Bomberman trumps them all, so doesn't matter.
Thank you, dear listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. That's our email address. And you can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And Jeff, what is the list site if people want to check our official list?
Well, Gino, that is available at bit.ly/deepfinal. It is bit.ly/deepfinal.
If you want to keep track of the list, that is our current up-to-date rankings of the definitive ranking of fantasies. Well, dear listeners, till next time, peace.